All right. Hey, everyone. We're back here in New Orleans with the Crescent City Cup 2020. I believe this is the ninth edition. Thanks for tuning in some of the weekend or all weekend for this wide variety of commentators. We've got an Owl game coming up next. It's going to be Jackson SMYLIE from Toronto against Mike Early from Texas. Jackson's still in pretty good shape to win the tournament here on the Owl side. But we'll see if Mike can deny that. Conrad Bassett Bouchard. I'm joined here with Matt Kennick from Austin. What do you think? What do you think, Matt? What's Jackson thinking right now?
So Jackson just messaged me once he saw the pairings. He's a bit rattled because he's 1-4 lifetime against Mike Early, and it just seems I've played both of these players just extensively, and it really does feel like Mike Early always pops out of nowhere to ruin a good tournament for you. So I don't think Jackson's thrilled with the pairing on those grounds, but Mike is far behind Jackson. I just pulled up the standings, and it looks like Mike is in 8th place, 7th place.
What about spread?
So, I'm sorry?
Would he be able to catch him on spread, or does this feel like a moot pairing?
Mike is about 900 behind on spread. So there's a number of players who could win the tournament. If Jackson wins 2 out of his next 3, he is guaranteed to win the tournament because he's 2 games up on the field right now. If he drops this one, that opens the door for some fun stuff to happen.
Yeah, and I think to comment.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, to comment on what you said about Mike, I think it's his play style is super high variance. He likes to take a lot of risks, real willing to play probabilities, and that can lead to some really big wins, but also some really big losses when it doesn't happen. So I can see yeah, you get those bad records from opponents who do that. But
we'll see Mike Early. He lives to bingo and dies by the bingo. We're going to see probably many times this game he sacrifices a lot of points to keep very, very bingo prone leaves. And Jackson's well aware of this. So Jackson could play Genoa here, Genoa. But I don't know that he wants to. He could play Goatee, same idea. But he might be hesitant to drop so many floaters and have an open board against a player who lives and dies by the bingo. You typically want to be a little bit more closed against those players. So I wouldn't be surprised if Jackson is thinking hard about ego here as well. But it looks like he's going to play long anyway and go with Goatee.
Yeah, and Jackson, having learned a lot of Scrabble from Kenji, I think will know Kenji's philosophy that the 5 and 6 tile plays while opening the board early will lead to closed boards longer term. So I think that thought might be going through Jackson's head as well. But we know what Jackson doesn't know, which is that Mike has all of the vowels, so Goatee won't punish him that badly here.
I'm curious to see what Mike is going to do here. I've been on the other end of his games about 1,000 times, but it'll be interesting to watch him play.
Yeah, I mean, I think he's just more likely he's going to keep these 3 vowel 2 consonant leaves that, like, yeah, they'll bingo, but when they don't, you just end up with more of the same. Like, I mean, he's got OU spelled out. Like, is he going to play out for 4? Like, I don't know. I'd believe it. I've seen enough of his games. He'll probably find a lot of the bingos with AEISW, but if he does that, this game could get ugly pretty fast, given that Jackson's going to score 40-something next turn.
So Mike started playing OWE, and then he looks like he's decided not to. Oh yeah, OWIE. I never see these new words. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Drop OWE holding
So
what, AOSU?
As opposed to playing it parallel, making go OW, AINTE, scoring more and keeping an equal leave.
That's a curious play for sure, and I don't know what he's drawn, but I know he held an A and an S, so AOOSUU, and then some 6th unknown pile. Yeah, I think exchanging is a stronger option there. I think owie parallel is a much better option as well. This lets Jackson just drop fizz, holding a reasonably good leave with a floating E. Mike's picked up an E as well, Aeoosuu. So Mike's going to exchange immediately. And this is another one of those kind of higher variance exchanges. Typically, you don't want to hold two vowels and one consonant. But AES are the most bingo prone tiles on Mike's rack. And so you can see he's choosing to hold all three of them instead. If he pulls vowels, he's going to score very little, but I do think he actually bingos just a little bit more probably after that exchange.
He probably does, and especially given that he just threw 4 vowels in, the pool's, it's probably close to even after goatee as well, but it's certainly not, he doesn't have to worry about getting too few vowels here.
And he did, in fact, draw the bingo. He's got Nemesia or Meanies.
Oh, and Nemesia is owl? Cool.
It is.
Nice.
And he picks and where he wants to play it. He's got several different options there. I think Nemesia and goatees is probably the highest scoring option.
It would look that way,
Yeah, depending on what he plays, if he floats an eye out, Jackson's going to have confined as a counterplay. So we'll see. This is a huge decision for Mike.
Yeah, I mean, I would expect him. He just sees meanies and plays it, but gimmicks they score the same.
Yeah, it looks like he's got meanie set up, and I don't really see a reason for him not to play that. I think that's what I'd play in the situation as well. But it does give Jackson the counter. Yep, here comes meanies, and Jackson's going to be able to come back with confined. Like I said, Mike making probably a suboptimal exchange, but it does probably increase his bingo percentage a bit, and boom, there goes the bingo.
Yeah, and I actually hadn't realized that Toei took an S in owl, so you could make the argument that maybe Mike wants to play a super open board and play making Toei's.
Yeah, that does lead to fewer options in the short term, perhaps, but definitely a more open board in the long term.
Yeah.
Typically, when you bingo early, you want the closed board, but he's down by almost a bingo score already. I've had many games against Mike where he'll get 3 bingos down to my 1, and I will win the game anyway. That's kind of how the bingo or die mentality goes. You score very little, or you bingo.
Yeah.
And you can kind of see that starting to play already. Granted, Mike's had some clunky racks, but Mike's got a bingo, Jackson doesn't, and it's a tie game.
Yeah.
So Jackson sees confined. He's going to spend just a couple seconds, I bet, trying to see if there's another bingo through one of those other vowels, and we'll see confined come down.
Yeah. Well, if Mike's living by the bingo, then he might want to draw another one, right? Would probably be a good strategy. Or that.
156 to 92. 89 for you.
Mike's got an interesting rack. I'm curious to see how he's going to play this one. Again, I've played Mike and Jackson more than almost anybody else on the planet, aside from maybe Kevin Leeds. And I really do want to see how Mike plays through stuff like this.
Yeah.
E and a B, but also an S. You know, is he going to? Looks like they're talking over a score. Yeah, we'll see what Mike does. IBIS and Toei's perhaps, but I think Mike is really going to want to hold on to the S here.
Yeah, I mean, I think he'll want to keep it for sure, unless there's some really good play hiding out. But I don't think there is.
I could see Mike exchanging here.
I mean, he's not exactly sitting on a bunch of stuff. That's good here.
I could also see Mike playing vibe to the E and confined. to exchange, though. He's pushed all the I's and the V off to the side. Yep, there it goes. I don't see a bingo for Jackson. If the D were a couple spots over, I believe Recond is good, but not an option for him.
Yeah, and he's in pretty good shape. I could see Jackson playing short here and trying to go for like the big bing.
See him playing short here. If he bings again pretty soon, the game's almost over. I could also see him just like stringing some kind of 6-letter word to the D or something. Just trying to block off as much of the board as you can. But with the Toei's hook out there, that's not going to go away anytime soon. Yeah. It's a tough choice for Jackson. Do I play to bingo again? Do I start trying to play some defense now?
Yeah.
In case you're wondering, I don't know what I'm doing.
It really does start to like invite closing the board actually into real focus, given that this board is quite open. Well, it's still currently quite open.
Of course, worth mentioning, C is one of the best blocking tiles in the game. There are no 2-letter words you can make with the C, and so Jackson could use that very defensively. If he wants to play down through the E or A and meanies, he's going to knock out basically the entire top left quadrant of the board. Yeah, I don't see any good scoring options there, but
that's why
if he's able to find one that I don't see.
Yeah, well, like a future turn, you play ENO here or something, you start to block the board, and then you still save the C for next turn to like really, really mess things up.
You could play like none NONE down from the N and meanies. It's going to deal with all the 8s through the bottom of confined, and then perhaps if you're able to hit that C next turn somewhere else.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, Jackson is definitely right to take his time here. I think don't get too clever here. Take some points, keep a good leave.
Talking about this from Mike's perspective, he does have Rost rate down to the E and meanies.
They use 2 O's, I think.
Sorry, he does not.
Yeah, I was.
So I think an R would bail him out maybe with rotators, but I don't see Jackson stringing an R out.
I don't either. If anything, there's going to be fewer things that were open than before.
Right. One of those turns in Scrabble, there's a lot of options, and as far as we see, nothing stands out above the crowd. So you just have to choose, what do I want to do with the rest of the game?
Yeah.
All of the options are probably within a couple points of each other. So what do you value against Mike Early, especially a bingo-prone player? Do you play for the defense and try and wall him in so he can't get bingos down? Or do you just try and run?
Yeah. I mean, I think after the exchange 5, maybe you do try to block him in a bit. So it looks like Jackson's considering Neon, which is fewer points, but perhaps more effectively in the short term blocks the board. I would personally choose none before I played Neon, because it'll be harder to reopen the E and the D, whereas any play into the N will still reopen that top left side of the board.
My internet dropped there for a second, but I'm back now.
Welcome back, Paul Allen.
Thank you.
Yeah, I haven't seen Jackson take this much time on a play in a while.
Mike has set up rotators on his rack now. He's noticed it.
Yeah, it's interesting how he's now moved all his tiles together into the far right. I could see Jackson maybe reading into that a bit. I mean, it won't matter in this case, but sometimes when you're on a big rack and all the tiles are all on the far side, all of a sudden it kind of begs that question.
Looks like Jackson's thinking about neon down to the over to the N and confined. I think that's a good option. It's basically the best defensive play you're going to see here, and it doesn't completely demolish the board, but it takes a good hard step towards doing that. Floaters is you're going to be able to block. Keeps a decent lead.
Yeah, for a sec there, I thought he had Neocon to the end, but which would be a great play, but he doesn't.
So there goes Neon. Yep, he knocks out 5 floaters all at once, or 4 floaters all at once. The A, the E, the M, and then the other E as well. E is probably the most dangerous floater there is in the game, so to knock out 2 of those with a healthy lead is a smart thing to do. And Mike's going to be left with the decision now. I could see him quickly dropping OOT on top of Meanies.
Yeah, or Foot, maybe.
Like,
but agreed, playing off those 3 tiles.
I don't want to play Foot. I want to keep Toei's open because I'm holding an S.
But I could see Mike playing that.
I could. Yes, Foot's is good, but I think Toei's is not going to go away very easily, and Foot is very easy to block.
Yeah, and you can't score too much with that left side with ETM not being good.
Since drawn into 2 U's. I don't think that's what he was expecting to happen after Neon. CERN blows up in his face when he draws 3 consonants sometimes. He did not draw 3 consonants. He actually drew 3 vowels, but UI is never a good thing to draw. Okay, I shouldn't say not ever, but almost never a good thing to draw.
Pretty much.
Mike's going to go with Foot. Yeah, the score is a little bit better than Oot. I wouldn't have. I mean, I might have played it, but I think I would have tried to keep Toei's available if I were in his position.
Yeah, I mean, Foots can lead to Footsie. Could be interesting, but yeah, it's a nice spot. Nice spot from Jackson there. I haven't studied a lot of shorter words since words like unicum were added, so I might miss something like that.
I believe I missed Unicum on the stream at Nationals in one of the most famous streamed games of all time, where I let Will play a 9-letter triple at the end of the game to beat me in a game where I was a sure overdog. So yes. I bet if nothing else, Jackson knows it from watching me lose a game.
Yeah, having been the commentator on that game, if I recall correctly, that was a wild morning.
Jack's seen the game. It's a redefeats was the 9-letter bingo. So Jackson's going to play Unicum. Maybe you'd rather do better with the C on a board you're trying to kill, but I think that's a really solid play to get rid of 2 U's. and I think you've got to make it.
It's making the most of what turned out to be an unideal situation, but fortunately for him, Mike did not draw another vowel, probably because Jackson has all of them.
I guess if Mike wants to get rid of it all, he can try rostral through the O in foot, making toeies. I don't see him doing that, though.
I could see him exchanging again.
I can see him changing or playing turl for 5 through the I and unicum.
Oh,
I think
yeah, the eyes there. Yeah. That's what I would expect to see.
this one, I've seen Mike make plays like turl for 5 very often, keeping the most optimal leave on his track. So he's going to score just a couple more points and hold that L.
Yeah, I mean, another, like, picking up the E. He's going for the E for sure. He's in good shape if he gets an E.
If he draws an E, that play is worth it, and if he doesn't, he's going to be in bad shape again with a bunch of one-pointers.
Yeah.
No E for him, but he does get a K, so at least he can score some points as he plays through it.
Yeah.
An eatery through the T and foot. I don't think he wants to throw the E out there, but it's really not that bad because not much can come back. QAT is going to block most of the 8s through eatery. That's really one of the only ways he's going to be able to score with this rack.
Yeah, it's unfortunate that he really can't afford to do IE and footy.
He's going to do it anyway. So with the huge lead, Jackson's going to score points. Again, it's that philosophical decision. Do I just try and score as much as I can, or do I try and close the board? And it looks like Jackson says, forget it, I'm just going to score. We're not going to play defense anymore. I mean, of course, he'll try and close things, but I would have played eatery here.
Yeah, I'm not
Pay off
inclined
well
to,
for Jackson, though.
Yeah, I'm not inclined to open the board that crazily.
AEGILR blank out of the bag, then you can do whatever you want, though. I think that play is dangerous because one of the only ways you lose is to give up a huge scoring bingo, and IE allows Mike to bingo for 90 or 100 a lot of the time, especially after playing Rut for 8 points. I don't know that I do that. I think I play eatery.
Yeah, it's opening the triple. Like, okay, fine, you open a triple. It's the problem is the variance you've invited is, even though like it won't change his average score a whole lot, IE is still going to lead to like a net max for Jackson. It just gives Mike a lot more outs to make things close. It just doesn't need to be. And again, at this point in the tournament, Jackson needs wins. He doesn't need to win by a lot. So there are situations. I mean, if this is round 4, yeah, IE for sure. In round 18, I would, I would think twice.
Now, does he want to play something like Lark, or does he want to play KAT at the top and leave the board open? And it seems like he's decided to take away the spot.
Right, it's unlikely is still the operative word, though. You've invited variance for those unlikely situations to happen, and that's what you're trying to avoid.
By all means, I'm not saying I'm correct here. I'm just saying I would not have played that.
Yeah,
Jackson is higher rated than me.
Yeah, well, at this point, trying to talk through some of the comments about the unlikeliness versus the likeliness, I suppose, like what's going to happen most of the time. I also do not feel the same skill level gap that you've mentioned.
Looks like Mike has ADDRSTW. I'd expect to see WAD come down in the top right corner, making AA and ID, or maybe like weight. No, he's got 2 Ds.
Yeah.
So I would expect definitely to see that. On bibimbap.
I would say he almost has a hilarious misspelling of bibimbap.
Even a misspelling?
Bibimbap has an A in it, yeah. Bibimbap.
You translate from Korean, you can go pretty much any way you want. I typically see it with the O.
Oh, well, in Scrabble at least. I've actually,
Oh,
I've,
really?
I've almost never, I've actually never seen it with the O. I mean, I totally believe you. I know that you have someone in your life who's super into Korean things. But I actually have never seen it spelled bibimbap, interestingly.
Here comes Wad, as expected. Mike's clawing at nothing right now, trying to get back in this game, but with Jackson pulling the second blank after bingoing with the first one, I think this is more or less Jackson's game.
Yeah.
I don't want to jinx anything, but
Matt, did you know that I once let...
I'm sorry?
Oh, I was saying, I once let somebody play bulgogi for 13 points. Turns out bulgogi is not a word.
Oh, that's a tragedy.
While we're talking about Korean food.
Mike has drawn Droots. I believe that's good. Drouths.
Yeah.
So he'll get to play that with Dell. Jackson gets to decide now, like, do I want to try and rack up spread again? Because his last game yesterday, he lost by like about 250 points and lost some of his big spread lead. Good for him. He only lost by Joey to 6. If you're going to lose, you want to keep it close. But does he want to try and get really aggressive and fish for bingos? Does he want to try and shut down the board? Does he want to try and open up the board because he's got the good stuff on his rack? It looks like he's just going to play pretty standard and play Bib here, keeping MOP blank. And Mike should play Droots with DEL. And there he goes. Yeah, he pulls the trigger. It says there is a 9 available.
Undershot.
Oh, wow, undershot. That's fun.
Yeah. Interestingly, actually, might be worth playing in how it keeps like the spot you could play Ock on a future turn. Like it actually does leave more lanes open. Still would be very hard to come back at this point, but
right.
Nice find, Kate.
Jackson can play Jism and essentially lock up the game. Her available spots are still there.
No, I believe it's pronounced Ock. I will always believe that it's pronounced Ock. That's how I pronounce it. There's nothing you can say to change my mind. Emoji is the hardest word to find in Scrabble. I'm gonna throw that out there, even though I use them like crazy.
Trying to figure out if Mike is talking to Jackson or just counting silently with his lips.
Well, it looks like his rack is in the correct spot for now, so. Worth noting.
Yeah, so Jackson.
Oh, go ahead.
Go ahead.
I would say worth noting we're getting pretty low on vowels, so Jackson might be thinking about that as well.
I think he's got Jism set up. He could go ahead and blow the blank and play Jorums, but that would theoretically allow plays down from the J that also open the board for Mike, and he just doesn't want to do that. Now, Mike wouldn't have any of that. Mike's got some hot garbage over there, and he's probably going to have to play XI in the top left corner, but that knocks out the R, which is about Mike's only way back into this game. Oh, Jackson has set up Emoji. That's a really, really aggressive play up at the top. But with holding PR blank, Mike shouldn't block it. And then maybe Jackson can get a bingo and get some more spread. So we'll see if he wants to play the offense or the defense.
Yeah, I mean, it's certainly consistent with having played IE. To me, it would be insane, but
it's hard not to be biased by Mike's rack. We know Mike would have nothing to come back from that, but
yeah,
no, I don't think you could make that play almost ever, unless you're looking at Mike's rec. One tournament, Mike actually wore sunglasses to try and intimidate his opponents, and you could see his tiles in the reflection of his sunglasses.
Oh no!
So
Who had to be the person to tell him that?
playing in that tournament, but I believe Daryl Day ended up having to tell him.
Got it.
Letting everybody out there in the crowd know, do not wear sunglasses during your tournaments.
But you will.
So Jackson didn't play. Yeah, fact. Jackson did not play Jism. He decided to go with Jerd instead, and I'm not totally sure why. Maybe he wants to keep that S open, or maybe try to open the board in some way. But at this point in the game, you kind of just do whatever and probably win, unless you like open a triple.
Yeah, I mean, I think he just saw the D as being the bingo lane that, you know, Mike could bingo through it and then open another lane down below in return, given that he wasn't going to block the top left this turn. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it is family friendly, Jack. Quite literally.
Mike's got to decide if he wants to play XI at the top or not. This is one thing Mike does. He does not track the tiles until about 2/3 of the way through the game.
Oh, okay.
And then he tracks everything. And he only uses a blank piece of paper. He doesn't use score sheets. So he actually writes down every single letter and then tallies them all up one at a time and figures out what's remaining. So that's what we see going on right now. Mike is going to spend about 4 or 5 minutes doing this from experience.
Oh, so interesting. So he doesn't, he won't, like, as he tracks them up, he won't write the letters next to each other?
He just writes every letter once, and then, or maybe he writes it all. No, he writes every letter once, and then just has tallies next to each letter.
Okay, so he does do that. He doesn't literally write every letter down and then, like, tally them up afterwards.
Oh, no. But he goes through and counts them all one at a time. Yeah, and he always does his 2/3 of the way through the game, regardless of the game score. I've been down by 200 and been on the receiving end of it. It's like, come on, man, I'm down 200. There's 20 in the bag. Just go. And no, we end up sitting there for 4 or 5 minutes. But he does it no matter what the game score.
Yeah. I mean, I will say I don't usually start tracking until the 4th or 5th turn, just to try to save the time at the beginning. But there's still a point. It's like, you should know what's left.
Jackson's got to feel pretty cool and calm right now. Wondering if we can get an update on some of the other games out there. Because if Sid and Adam are not playing each other and they both drop this round, I think Jackson actually clinches a tournament anyway. I don't have the standings in front of me anymore. Back up.
I'm now upstairs in Kate's room, so I also do not have them.
You know what? There are 4 players who are 2 games behind Jackson, so there's no way he can clinch this thing.
Okay.
How's
this?
It seems
spread?
like Sid is playing David, and Adam is playing Matty Kamen. Okay. So it's possible that 3 out of those 4 players win their game, and Jackson has 3 players 2 games behind him with 2 games to go. His biggest threat right now would definitely be Sid, who is at 12-5, playing another person at 12-5. Sid is down about 140 spread points on Jackson, so Jackson would love to see Sid lose because that would make Jackson's biggest threat Adam Ginsberg, who's it looks like almost 400 spread behind Jackson.
Not even including this game where Jackson's going to likely pick up a significant amount of spread.
Right. Active Gibsonization if Sid drops and if Adam drops as well.
Yeah.
It would be Joey Kravchik, who's almost 500 spread behind, and then David Teak, I don't know how to say his name, who's well behind, almost 800 spread points.
Yeah. It's also, it's interesting to consider you think of Sid as being this defensive player, and it would be hard for him to spread, and yet we saw yesterday he is in fact the one who beat Jackson by 250.
If I'm Mike Early, I'm conceding and playing XI here. He might be thinking about playing like HIP and SH under next to Druth just to like set up an S hook for some reason, but that just never ends well for you.
Yeah.
The only way it does is if Jackson has 7 consonants and can't do anything. Yeah, it looks like he's just going to play the XI play at the top, and I think that's the right thing to do. Sometimes you just have to fold him.
Yeah, and honestly, that may still be his most winning play at this point.
Honestly, that's probably true, yeah. Looks like the Collins field is incredibly close, so we're going to pull away from TWL here, and you guys are going to get to see a crazy finish. Oh, Mike plays XIS right there for 20 instead of XI for 37.
Okay.
39, something like that. So I guess he's setting up the front A that he doesn't even have, but, going down fighting just a little bit. I think there's very few universes where Jackson doesn't just play, Vox or Coup, like right away to deal with that.
Yeah, it's certainly nice for Jackson because he's just going to keep raking up extra spread to try to, make the last 2 games as inconsequential as possible. Like in an ideal world, you don't want stressful games at the end. You just want to win. So,
right. So POOH for Jackson is going to completely neutralize that threat and score a ton of points in the meantime. Mm-hmm. If you're Jackson, you want to see Mike continuing to do stuff like this.
Yeah, definitely.
Only way you can still win the tournament, you're 3 games back with 3 to go. You've got to win this game.
Yeah.
It looks like he's going back to thinking about Vox. As Conrad mentioned earlier, there's not a ton of vowels left. Actually, we're fine. There's 8. No, there's 6. There's 6 out of 18. So yeah, maybe Jackson does want to hold on to his O. I think really the worst thing that could happen is you end up with no vowels, and then Mike makes an aggressive opening.
Exactly.
So probably smart to just play Vox and hold back. If Jackson draws 2 consonants here, he's going to feel extra smart about that.
Yeah.
Got an A, okay. You're just thinking, what's the worst thing that could happen, and how do I prevent that from happening?
Yeah, basically. I want to go to Mofo. I've never been to Mofo. I see what they did there. For those of you who've never been to the restaurant Maypop, it is one of the best restaurants. It's like Vietnamese Cajun fusion, so that might tell you if they have a sister restaurant that is called Mofo, how clever they were being. All right, this feels more like this feels like a concession play. Because he's not really, he's scoring some points, but throwing his concept of leaving like good leaves to the wind.
It's a hard play for him to make, but I think it's the right thing to do. That R is still there, and it's actually kind of annoying to block, especially without an I or an O to make GI or GO. There's not a ton that can be done there, unless Jackson wants to score like 8 and play ramp.
Which at some point he'll do. But for now, he's
I mean, and you have no other good plays anywhere else that score a ton of points.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it looks like Mike has actually drawn into 2 7-letter bingos, nuptial and unplate. He has no spot to play them, and I don't really see any universe where Jackson gives him one to play it.
Yeah.
Things have happened in New Orleans. This is a true story. In New Orleans several years ago, I won the high play in the Collins division for a 4-point word.
389, 279.
Oh, because no one wrote anything
Actually
down.
opening the board. Look at that. He's going to play Gap, setting up Gape and whatever else. He doesn't even have the last E. I'm very surprised to see that play come down. And there are other universes where this backfires pretty hard on Jackson. I think even if Mike bingos after that, Jackson lives. But surprised.
Yeah, that's I mean, I don't know, like what if Mike has a Y bingo there, right? Like he just set up a unlikely but possible 100 plus 120 point spot for Mike. Like a gapey bingo is scary. Of course Jackson drew the Y instead, but I don't think he knew he was going to.
I think Mike is one of those people who writes the entire unseen pool in giant letters. So, like, I don't think Jackson looked over at what Mike has to see that, but
Yeah.
that's the only universe in which playing Gap like that makes any sense at all.
Yeah.
I can't believe Jackson played that.
Yeah, at that point you may as well play Gamp.
Right. Probably safer.
Maybe Jackson thought he was getting low on time. I have no idea. I've continually flummoxed by some plays this morning, but
You can try playing Tup and Taxis, just to open the board up a little bit. But Jackson's got the S, he's got the blank. This game is still over despite Jackson doing everything he can to stop that from happening.
I didn't check if there were any big gapey bingos, but I would be willing to bet a significant amount of money that Jackson wouldn't have felt 100% confidence in knowing that to be the case, should it have been true.
With that many tiles in the bag, too.
Yeah, I mean, exactly. That's so many racks. Yeah. Leave ES in there, and there's going to be things. There is still ES unseen to him.
Pyalin, yeah. If you just change the U to a Y, PTYALIN for Mike. Goodness.
Yeah.
106. Yeah, maybe he's just trying to keep it interesting for us at home. But if Mike's U is a Y, oh my goodness, Mike is up by 10 points.
Yeah. I got nothing. I mean, Jackson could just be nervous. That's my best. I mean, I think winning this, did he win last year or did Josh win last year? I forget.
I want to say Josh did, but I can't remember.
Then, in which case, this would be one of his bigger wins he's ever had. So
there's also a kind of a mental component. I think Jackson hasn't won a tournament in like a year and a half. Yeah. And he's, always the 1 seed or the 2 seed, and he just like consistently takes second at everything. So maybe in Jackson's head, he's like trying to, I don't know. Maybe he feels like, I don't know. There's nothing I can say to defend Gap when Pyalin is unseen.
Yeah, and I think it's reasonable, like to understand, like he does kind of like project the confidence, but being nervous or being freaked out in these situations is like totally reasonable. So, but
Jackson
it looks
can on YOM, up, and just absolutely win the game, but we'll see. Yeah, I agree. Nerves can be a factor, especially with the stream going.
Yeah. So I mean,
Mike has aim cell.
Yeah, or rallians.
I and E is a valid 7. It does not take an S. But if I'm Jackson, I am leaving that R alone absolutely just to see if it comes up. Yeah, Yam should win the game.
Yeah.
Or pretty much anything else Jackson feels like doing except passing might. Yeah, passing would lose.
Or any phony.
Main cell at the bottom. I think Jackson could win in many cases, but yeah, Mike's probably going to try it.
Yeah, you may as well. Yep, there it is.
Yes, he set it up. So this is fun. Maybe Jackson is not totally sure. Just going to play movers instead.
Saving Gaby and PY. No, I'm just kidding.
45. 434.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if that's the best end game, but certainly.
I'd like
VA. Go ahead.
VARS right there, setting up Mopey is fantastic, especially when you know Mike is just going to lose a turn like this.
Oh yeah, true. Nice. That's a nice play. Nice man.
Let's check it.
And we're going to get the challenge here. And unless I've absolutely lost my marbles, this is going to come back off the board, and Jackson's going to plunk the Y somewhere.
Yeah.
So it's interesting to see after Gap, which is the clear, like, I'm trying to get a ton of spread. Jackson doesn't really think through this end game, but the VAR's Mopey sequence is going to net him a ton of points.
Yeah. And yeah, I mean, even Vrooms, as noted in the commentary, is better than movers anyway. So.
Right. So maybe Gap wasn't a spread play, but then what could it possibly be?
Yeah, I think it's got to be nerves. I mean, because he I don't think Jackson misses Vrooms most of the time, right? Like, even if he chooses this set of plays, he's got plenty of time. So I think he's nervous. That's the best I got. And
do we have any results from the other games?
Yeah, he missed Larky. I mean, yeah, I think he's nervous.
Maybe he's just in autopilot, not even thinking about spread anymore.
Yeah. I don't know. I wouldn't say that the play the first two games has been particularly inspired, but having a 2 or 3 game lead, can allow that. So it'll be interesting to see how he does in his last 2 games. But we will be moving over to Collins for the last 2 games, where it looks like things may come down to a much closer finish. You'll be stuck with me for 2 more games, and then the real Paul Allen will show up.
It's for real this time. Well, perhaps he said he may not be available, so we'll find out.
Yeah.
So we found Sid lost. That means David has 13 wins, but David has almost no spread, and we're waiting to see what happened in the games of Adam Ginsberg and Joey Krafchick, because they both have significantly more spreads. But we're in a situation now where Jackson just needs to win one of the next 2, and he'll win the tournament. Or even if he loses the next 2, as long as he doesn't lose by a total of like 200 or 250 points. We see Joey's also lost, and Adam Ginsberg is still in play. So it might be Joey versus David, and Jackson just has to lose by less than like 400 total. So David would have to blow him out twice, or if Adam Ginsberg wins, Jackson would have to not lose by about 200 or 300 total. Really, it's Jackson's tournament to lose. He's probably 85% or so to win it, but strange things have happened in New Orleans.
Yeah, and I mean,
we're switching over to Collins after this.
Yeah, and I will say, I mean, like, personal opinion, Adam's. So like, if I'm sitting there as Jackson, Adam's not who I want to be playing against. Here, I would much rather take the chances against a Joey or a Sid. Adam could make up that spread, so it'll really come down to, if Adam wins, how much should he win by? And it looks like Matty won, so everything we just said is totally inconsequential. Yeah. So we'll see. It's looking good. It's looking good for Jackson. So yeah, Matt, thanks for doing some commentary this morning. But we're going to go to a break, and we'll be back with 2 Collins games after this to close out the tournament.
Thanks for having me, guys, and thanks for watching, all you viewers at home.